ground up, a testament to my dedication and skill. They hadn't just missed it, they had actively chosen to ignore it, to dismiss my monumental achievement for something so utterly trivial. So when my father's text message flickered on my screen, I felt no compulsion to inquire about the nature of his desired discussion. I knew precisely what weighed on his mind. It wasn't concern for my well-being, nor genuine interest in my restaurant's future. It was the money, of course, the assumed financial dividends, the unspoken family tab, the discount he believed he had inherently earned simply by sharing my last name. I stared at the screen, the words simmering within me, before I typed a single, decisive sentence that would irrevocably alter the landscape of our relationships forever. Effective immediately, the restaurant is closed to all family. No reservations, no discounts, no exceptions. 20 minutes later, my phone became a frenzied symphony of missed calls, 19 in total, culminating in a sharp, insistent knock at the back kitchen door. Drawing the line in the sand, it was Ezra, standing there framed in the doorway, exactly as I had anticipated. He cut a striking figure in his perfectly tailored blazer, exuding the overpowering scent of excessive cologne, yet lacking even a hint of genuine remorse. In his hand, almost comically, he held a box of leftover cake. "Figured you'd want a slice," he offered, attempting to conjure a smile, as if the night's egregious slight had simply vanished into thin air. I remained motionless, silent. "Look, Jules," he began, his tone dripping with a manufactured casualness. "We didn't think the opening was that big of a deal. Dad said it was just soft launch vibes." His words were a fresh wound, twisting the knife. I stepped out, deliberately shutting the door behind me, the click echoing the finality of my decision. "You went to his party, Ezra, not mine," I stated, my voice soft but laced with an unyielding steel. "I sent out handwritten invitations. I texted Mom 3 times. I made your favorite lemon tart, and it sat untouched for 5 hours. He looked down at the cake, shifting his weight. "People got busy." "No," I corrected him, my voice sharper now, cutting through his facile excuses. "People got lazy. They thought I'd always be their backup plan." With that, I walked past him, hefting the trash bag I'd been carrying and tossing it into the waiting dumpster with a decisive thud. "Jules, come on," he pleaded, following me. "It's not that deep." But it was. It had always been deep. From the casual way Dad would introduce me as the artsy one, a dismissive label that minimized my ambition, to Mom's incessant comparisons between my audacious restaurant dream and Ezra's seemingly more stable marketing job. They wanted me to remain small, contained, easily digestible, so they would never have to truly explain, or God forbid, acknowledge my boundless potential. Ezra continued to trail me back to the door, a new card in his hand. "I think Dad wants to invest now. He sees potential. He asked me to talk to you." There it was. The true agenda laid bare. Not guilt, not genuine support, but the cold, calculating glint of business opportunity. "Tell Dad the restaurant is fully funded," I replied, my voice calm, almost serene, "and the investor bought exclusive rights to my loyalty." Ezra blinked, utterly bewildered. "What does that mean?" I allowed myself a slow, knowing smile. "It means you're late, and I don't do leftovers." I turned, stepped back inside, and locked the door. With a resounding click, leaving him on the other side, I could hear his bewildered breathing, then the receding sound of his footsteps, walking away into the silent night. Reclaiming my space. The very next day, I didn't just change the locks at the restaurant, I changed them at my apartment too. For years, I had allowed my family to treat my personal space like a revolving door, a convenient pit stop in their busy lives. "Jules, we need a place to crash. Can we store this here for a few weeks? Can I borrow your car just until Monday?" And each time I had uttered a compliant yes, because the very thought of saying no filled me with a paralyzing sense of selfishness. Somewhere in the deepest recesses of my mind, I had foolishly conflated being useful with being loved. But love, true love, doesn't flake on the most monumental moment of your life. Love doesn't shrug off your heartfelt invitations as if they were inconsequential. Love, real love, shows up. So I made it official. A new sign, handwritten with unwavering resolve, now hung prominently on the restaurant door. "Dear customers, due to overwhelming support, we're transitioning to reservations only. No walk-ins accepted, even if we share DNA." By noon, A photograph of the sign, my arms crossed in a white apron, had made its way onto local foodie blogs. By evening, it had gone viral, igniting a firestorm of discussion across the internet. The image of me, resolute and unyielding, standing before that simple, powerful message, clearly struck a deep, resonant chord with countless strangers. Comments flooded in, a torrent of solidarity. This woman is my hero. Boundaries taste better than betrayal. Tell Ezra to eat a slice of humble pie. Meanwhile, my phone, once a silent sentinel, buzzed incessantly. My mother called 5 times, leaving a single indignant voicemail. "Juliet, this is childish. We're family. We made a mistake, but this public tantrum is making things worse." I chose not to respond. Instead, I opened the front door to a smiling couple, tourists from Georgia, their hands clasped together. "We saw you online," the woman beamed, her eyes shining. "We canceled our other reservation just to eat here." As I guided them to their table, I caught my reflection in the expansive front window. What I saw wasn't the face of bitterness, nor the furrowed brow of anger. What I saw, for the first time in a very long time, was freedom. Behind me, the restaurant pulsed with the vibrant energy of laughter, the cheerful clinking of forks, and the quiet hum of second chances. Chances I had chosen to bestow, not ones I had been compelled to give. Confrontation at the doorstep. 2 days later, my father made his appearance. Not at the restaurant, of course. He wouldn't risk the glare of flashing cameras or the potential for another damning headline. He came directly to my apartment. "Juliet, open the door," he called out, his voice a strained plea. I watched him from the peephole, a man I barely recognized, his suit jacket slightly wrinkled, his eyes heavy with a weariness I hadn't seen before. He looked like a man losing control of a narrative he believed he had authored. "I'll be brief," he added, his tone softening slightly. "Your mother's upset. Ezra's confused. We all are." I opened the door but remained firmly planted in the frame, blocking his entry. "You want to talk? Talk right here." He sighed, a sound laden with exasperation. "This is ridiculous. We're not enemies." "No," I corrected him, my voice calm but unwavering. "You're just people who conveniently forgot I exist, unless I was footing the bill or cooking the meal." He flinched, the accusation clearly striking a nerve. "I was going to help you," he said quietly, almost defensively. "I was looking into some financing." "You mean you wanted equity?" I countered, my eyes locking onto his, seeing right through his thinly veiled generosity. "Control." Dad's face hardened, his composure slipping. "Don't be paranoid." Without a word, I reached behind me, pulling out a manila envelope that had been patiently waiting on the console. "Here's the deed," I stated, extending it towards him. "The restaurant is solely in my name. The LLC, the patents, the recipes, all mine." He blinked, genuinely stunned. "You got a lawyer?" "I got a team," I corrected him, a hint of satisfaction in my voice. "Funny what happens when you stop waiting for permission to shine." My father looked down, then muttered almost inaudibly, "We just wanted you to succeed." "No," I retorted, the truth a bitter pill. "You wanted me to stay small, manageable." He had no response. Before he left, he turned, his parting words laced with a veiled threat. "This will come back to bite you, Jules. You're burning bridges." I simply nodded, calm and collected. "Then I guess I'll learn to swim." I shut the door, and for the first time in my entire life, I didn't feel the slightest need for their name, their approval, or their influence to succeed, because mine, Juliet Martin, was finally, truly worth something. Whispers of War, Roar of Resilience. By that very night, my reservation book showed 12 new requests, a testament to the surging tide of public support. And then a single message from Ezra. "They're planning something. Be careful." I didn't flinch. Let them plan. So was I. The first sign of their insidious strategy manifested as a scathing 1-star Yelp review, then 2, then 6, all within a single hour. Each review was eerily similar. Food was cold, staff was rude, owners stared at us like we didn't belong. The only problem? Not a single one of those names appeared in my meticulous reservation log, and cold food was a culinary impossibility in my kitchen. I recognized the insidious pattern immediately. Ezra's warning echoed in my head. "They're planning something." This was a smear campaign, a calculated act of 1-star warfare, the kind of digital vandalism that leaves no fingerprints, only a trail of poison. But I didn't panic. I prepared. My first call was to my lawyer, detailing the coordinated attack. Then, I reached out to one of my most cherished regulars, a journalist from a prominent local paper who had once penned a glowing piece about revenge with Lyra, titled "The Restaurant with a Soul." "I think someone's targeting you," she said, her voice laced with concern after I shared the onslaught of fake reviews. "Want to go on record?" Without hesitation, I said yes. The Phoenix rises. By morning, the journalist's article had hit the stands, a powerful exposé that tore through the veil of secrecy surrounding my family's actions. It was titled, "Beneath the Apron Strings: How a Rising Star Chef Fought Back Against Family Sabotage." This wasn't revenge in the traditional sense. It was pure, unadulterated truth. The piece meticulously included screenshots, damning dates, glaring contradictions, and even a compelling quote from a staff member whose father had allegedly visited the restaurant the previous week, explicitly threatening to buy out her lease if she didn't come to her senses and abandon me. By noon, the story had grown legs, spreading like wildfire across social media platforms. Comments poured in once more, but this time they were a flood of fierce, unwavering defense. "Imagine being this threatened by your daughter's success," one commenter exclaimed. "Families like this create warriors." Another wrote, "She's not the black sheep, she's the phoenix." That very night, a woman walked into the restaurant during service, her eyes wide with admiration. "They tried to break you," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion, "but I came here to tip you $1,000 just for standing up." I retreated to the walk-in fridge, not out of weakness, but out of an overwhelming wave of relief, hot tears streaming down my face. For the first time in what felt like forever, I wasn't alone. The world had seen what they did, and the world had chosen me. An unexpected alliance. The next move, as it turned out, wasn't mine at all. It was Natalie, Ezra's fiancée. She appeared during closing hours unannounced and without a reservation, a fragile smile playing on her lips, a trembling phone clutched tightly in her hand. "Can I talk to you?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "Please, just a minute." My initial instinct was to refuse, to send her away, but something in her eyes, perhaps guilt, perhaps a desperate plea for understanding, held me still. She took a seat across from me in the last booth by the window, her hands wrapped tightly around a coffee cup I hadn't even had the chance to pour for her. "I didn't know," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I didn't know how far they were going." I remained silent, a watchful observer. "They created a WhatsApp group," she continued, her words tumbling out in a rush. "Your mom, Ezra, your Aunt Linda, even your cousin Mark. It was called Project Reset. The plan was to pressure you into selling the restaurant or force you to fail." I didn't flinch. The cruel irony was that I had already suspected as much. Natalie continued, her voice cracking with a mix of shame and distress. "Ezra said they were just trying to bring you back to reality. But after the article went viral, they turned on each other. Your mom blamed Ezra. Ezra blamed your dad. It's chaos now." I leaned back, observing her carefully. "Why are you telling me this?" She looked down, her shame palpable. "Because they dragged me into it, and because I don't want to marry someone who treats his sister like that." With a decisive gesture, she slid her phone across the table. Screenshots, messages, voice notes, proof. I stared at the damning evidence, names, dates, meticulous plans for my downfall. Natalie cleared her throat, her gaze now meeting mine, steadier this time. "If you want to go public, you have my blessing." I didn't respond. Not yet. Because revenge, I had learned, wasn't about noise. It was about impeccable timing. And this, I realized, wasn't merely about getting even. It was about getting free. I looked her directly in the eye. "Thank you," I said, the words genuine and heartfelt. "You just gave me everything I needed." And I meant it with every fiber of my being. Sometimes the last, most crucial card you need is handed to you by someone ready to walk away from the table. The grand vindication. At precisely 9:12 a.m., the headlines exploded. Chef Juliette Martin's family caught plotting to sabotage her career, leaked messages confirm. I hadn't spoken to a single member of the press. I didn't need to. Natalie had leaked the messages herself, posting them with a simple yet devastating caption, "I won't be marrying into this family." The internet predictably erupted. Screenshots from the Project Reset group chat painted a comprehensive and damning picture of their scheme. "She's too full of herself. Pull a plug on her supplier discount. Make her beg to come back." The public backlash was immediate and ferocious. Supporters of the restaurant flooded social media with the hashtag #StandWithJuliet. People who had remained silent before, old friends, high school classmates, even former co-workers, all spoke up, their voices unified in my defense. She was always the one carrying everyone. They used her until she had nothing left. This is why she shines. She fought alone. By noon, my reservation list was fully booked out for 6 glorious weeks. At 2 p.m., my landlord called, his voice beaming with pride. "Juliet, I'm extending your lease by 5 years. Rent locked. You're the pride of this street." At 3:17 p.m., Ezra texted, "I didn't know Mom saved that stuff. I'm sorry." I didn't respond. I was engrossed in prepping for dinner service, meticulously folding crisp napkins, tasting a rich, simmering sauce, straightening a slightly crooked picture on the wall. At 5 p.m., a woman walked in, impeccably dressed in a navy blazer and bold red lipstick. "I'm from the Food Chronicle," she announced, her smile radiant. "We're doing a feature, 10 chefs who survived the fire. You're our cover." I blinked, genuinely stunned. "Cover?" She simply smiled. "You're not just a chef, Juliet. You're a revolution." That night, after the last exquisite dish had been plated and the dining room lights softly dimmed, I stood barefoot in the empty space, a glass of wine cradled in my hand. The air wasn't heavy anymore. It felt clean, purified. And tomorrow I would begin planning something even bigger. Because the best revenge I had discovered wasn't merely survival. It was success, perfectly seasoned with silence. Juliet's table, a new legacy. Exactly 1 year later, the invitation arrived. Gold foil, elegant scripted lettering, sealed with a crest I recognized all too well. "You are cordially invited to Ezra and Marlene's engagement brunch," I laughed, a genuine, unburdened sound. Like the very same family who had once locked me out of their celebrations was now extending an invitation to their meticulously curated photo opportunity, undoubtedly hoping I would post something positive to bolster their tarnished image. With a satisfied smirk, I placed the ornate invitation directly into my blender. Then, I opened my laptop and finalized a deal I had been diligently negotiating for months. Juliet's Table, my second location. This one was situated in a historic brick building downtown, boasting exposed beams, a verdant rooftop garden, and a kitchen twice the size of my first. I had deliberately hired my staff from overlooked places. Culinary graduates brimming with talent but lacking connections, resilient single mothers rebuilding their lives, quiet dreamers who had never been given a proper chance. Together, we built something truly sacred. Not merely a restaurant, but a space where dignity was a fundamental ingredient on the menu. As I stepped outside for the ribbon-cutting ceremony, a vibrant crowd had gathered, buzzing with anticipation. The same journalist who had penned that pivotal first article was there, microphone in hand. "What would you say to your family now?" she asked, her eyes keen. I offered a slow, soft smile. Nothing. They had, in the past, demanded explanations, apologies, and endless second chances. I had given them only silence, because they never truly needed answers. They needed accountability. And I, Juliet Martin, had absolutely nothing left to prove. Later that evening, I stood inside the gleaming new kitchen, my apron dusted with flour, my hands deep in dough. Behind me, my staff buzzed with cheerful energy, laughter, the rhythmic chopping of ingredients, the low, comforting hum of hope. Then came a moment that solidified everything. A woman walked in alone, her demeanor nervous, hesitant. "I saw your story," she began, her voice soft. "My daughter wants to be a chef. She's afraid she won't be good enough." I paused, then gently handed her a menu. "Tell her this," I said, my gaze firm and kind. "They said the same to me.